Hello and welcome to the Nathan Tanner's. We've sort of merged our podcast again. We haven't done it for a while, so it's good to have Tanner back on. We've sort of been really busy lately with different things and different projects and our own stuff. So good to have Tanner back on again. We just had a chat for the last half an hour off air. Breaking free self-sabotage solutions. Tanner, welcome today. Our topic today is addiction. So my listeners will know that porn was a real big one for me, and I'll let you discuss yours. You just want to reintroduce yourself in case someone new's listening, Tanner, and we'll rock and roll into addictions today. This will be a good chat. It's been a while, and firstly, how you going? And then we'll rock and roll.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, always a pleasure to come on and speak with you. Really good friend, and just really love the conversations we always have. I think people need to hear this information, and it's good just to get it out there and have a platform and to share it with a like mind. So recently, I have been changing the things I've been doing. I've been now, for me, weed addiction was always a really big one, and even more recently, I had a problem with alcohol too, but that was a lot easier for me to give up than the weed. They say weed's sticky, and it was a very sticky substance. Kind of pulled me back in. And so my main focus now is to help as many people overcome their weed addictions as possible, and to get their life clean and be able to start living a life that they really want to be living again. And so, that is my main goal at this moment. And I'm so excited that we're going to be able to talk about addictions today, because I think that is a really big thing that many people are dealing with, even if they don't want to admit it, right? Like, I know back when I was smoking weed, I didn't want to admit that I was addicted. And it wasn't only until I look back now to realize, yeah, I was totally addicted to it. But while you're in it, you don't want to admit it. And oftentimes when we get rid of one addiction, we trade it for another addiction, whether it was, getting rid of the alcohol or the marijuana, and you're going right into a bunch of video game addiction, or, go right into the porn. It's always something that you're just transferring it over. And I think a big part of it is just like people saying, oh, everyone needs a vice. Like, that's just a common theme in society, right? Everyone needs a vice. And I know you've heard the same exact message before, right, Nathan?
Yeah, I have. I did a walk and talk about it last week on my Instagram, actually. But yeah, well said. And it's like you quit all of these things, but you're always drawn back to one, aren't you? Because I know for me, I sort of listened to Jason's work, and then I was like, well, I'm not drinking alcohol anymore. I just quit that like so easily. I quit pretty much all my self-abusive habits really, really quick. It's like a subconscious thing too. Like when you quit all of those things, it becomes very uncomfortable when you quit all this stuff, because you're not doing the things that you used to be doing. You're looking for alternative ways to do things. And then I guess the last thing that made me comfortable during all of that was the porn. It's the safety and the comfort that I was seeking from that, because I uphold and overhauled my life to a point where I was very, very uncomfortable until I sorted things out. The porn was the only sort of thing that kept me comfortable. I didn't really know how to sit with myself and meditate at this stage. I was sort of just thrown in the deep end and just sort of just swam. So that's sort of how it happened. And porn was the one thing I really struggled to quit. It took a good 12 months to quit it, but I can now say that I have quit it. But when I have those drawbacks, like I actually asked my future, and I'll put a link to the chat I just did on my podcast with Carter Russell. He gave a really good tip, and I'm going to share this because I've been doing it lately. Whenever I'm drawn or super horny or got that sexual energy in overdrive, and it's like, old me would just go straight to porn, I'll just sit with myself and ask myself three questions. One is, what would my future self say? What would my future kids say? And what would my future wife say if I was to go and watch porn? And every time it's like, I can't do this anymore. Because what would my future kids think if I'm watching porn? Then I'm not present with them. What would my future wife think? It's like, just gets me out of it every time. It's a really good little strategy. So if anyone out there is listening, that's a really good thing to do. And that's just not with porn. That's any addiction. It's like, well, what would my future self say? Like, if you have this goal of overcoming whatever it is, whatever vice, whatever addiction it is, sit with yourself and ask yourself that question. What would my future self think or say if I was to do this? If you're single like me and you haven't got a family or made your own family and got a wife or a husband, it's like, what would they think if I was 2 years in advance and I'm watching porn or I'm doing something else? It's like, what would they think? It's like, well, I'm not present as a father. I'm not present as a husband because my attention's on something else. Clearly, it really good little strategy. And you can also go deep within too. There's often little inner children there. I've spoken about that too with my porn stuff. There was an inner child there that was scared and scarred from love. That a woman on a screen, beautiful woman on a screen, was more safety and comfortable than actually going to find one myself. So there was that as well. So, a lot of boys out there see that woman on a screen and it's very enticing, isn't it, Tanner? Like, you see it there and it's very enticing. So for me,
yeah, I mean, they say sex, sex sells because it's one of the top, like, I can't remember what they call it, but it's like top, like, biological, like feelings that, like, we're born like trying to reproduce, right? So like we have like an innate compulsory drive to go towards naked woman, to go towards, the opposite gender, or to just go towards sex. Yep. And so that's why it's used so often in, sexualizing TV shows, sexualizing commercials, sexualizing. That's why they had the hot girls with the alcohol, right? On the nice cars, right? Trying to show off that kind of stuff because, well, sex sells at the end of the day. And it's been, you can see, like, if you look at the trend of TV shows, it's been getting progressively just kind of more risque,
softcore porn.
Yeah, exactly. It's softcore porn. Like before, like if you would have seen like half the things on TV, it would have been banned back in the day. And now it's like, this is just normal. Like if it doesn't have it, you're like, whoa, where's all like the porn in this, show? And it's, some people might be like, well, that's weird. Like, why would you say that? But I mean, once you start to analyze and look at it, like really start to think about it, how much porn and sexualized content is in all these TV shows and is in all these commercials, right? Is, if you scroll through TikTok, how much sexualized content is going to be on there, right? It's really invading on all areas. Right? I know I help gamers. There's now like these things called gamer girls who just go on there and like, essentially it's porn.
Yeah, they're promoting their OnlyFans.
Trying to get men who are like in the gaming world to go after porn because they know it sells, right? So yeah, it is tantalizing, and I know I was in that same spot before where I was drawn to the porn. And I think most men, if they're being real with themselves, have been drawn to it at least some point in their life. If they've, if they're over that now at this point, then that's one thing. But I think you got to be real with yourself and like admit, I was addicted to porn at some point,
Yeah. And a lot of men, a lot of boys, we're all like, we're not broken inside, but there's something going on internally that you're externally looking for that gratification, that instant hit, to not sit with yourself and face what it is you need to face in your life, which is could be change, could be fear, could be what someone said to you when you're a child, could be like there's something going on internally, could be what the person that you are, you want to run away and escape, because porn for me was an escape too. I wanted to run away from who I was. I wanted to run away from my life, and porn was that escape for me. It was that safety and comfort feature. If we talk about the subconscious mind, porn was a repetitive thing in my psyche for such a long time, because everything I would watch was sexual. The TV shows are softcore porn. So what is that? It puts you in that heightened sexual horny state that, well, you watch that and you go, well, you're going to be drawn to porn, aren't you? If you think of your subconscious as a supercomputer and you think of it like this piece of paper here, my repetitive content that I was repeatedly drawn to was porn. From the TV, from the movies, from the music, to talking about it at school, at work, different things. All it was sex, 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 sex. So what's Nath going to be seeking? Sex. If you can't get sex from a woman, where's the next best place to get sex from? Porn or OnlyFans. That was my repetitive content on my magic piece of paper. So what I did was I flipped the script. Took me 12 months, but it was, I believe in you, Nathan. I love you, Nathan. Success is yours. You know, seeing those affirmations and those quotes in my bedroom and saying them to myself didn't work instantly, but with patience, resilience, and discipline, it now actually works. I use the hypnosis, I meditate, I do other things when I'm in that state to channel that energy. I don't know about you, but I semen retain now as well. I do these other practices to help harness and channel that energy through my body, up from my sacral chakra into my crown chakra, and getting that energy flowing. So then I can go and create a blog. I can go and create a meme. I can record a podcast with you or on one of my own. I can go and do a video. I go for a walk. I can exercise. Channel that energy. I'm channeling my sexual energy into my dreams and into my future. But if I have a slip up, which I nearly did last week, I asked myself those three questions. It was, what would my future self think? What would my wife think? And what would my kids think? And it's like, I can't do that anymore because I'm becoming a better version of myself, and I don't need porn to be that better version of myself anymore.
Yeah, that's a very powerful thought process that you're talking about. You know, think about what your future self, what your, and I think about it even just in the present. You know, if I'm smoking marijuana, what's my family gonna think? What's my son? You know, what's Oliver, my 1 year old in 3 months.
He's watching too, Tanner.
Well, yep, exactly. What is he thinking about? You know, like how does he see me trying to sedate myself and distract myself? And that's really what it was for me. You know, like weed made things better in my life, and I'll talk more about that. But like, you know, I didn't feel like I was that confident person. I didn't feel like I was that cool kid. I didn't feel like I was super successful. And so to make myself feel better, what I did was I went out and got real high. You know, and before I even got introduced to weed, I was finding that distraction with alcohol. I was finding that distraction with video games. You know, if I wasn't successful in the real world, I could be successful in the video game world. You know, and so I was always just moving that. I would, you know, my addiction slightly changed, but I was just moving to something different every time. And I was using it for the same thing, just to make myself feel better about where I was in life and to feel, you know, more comfortable. And that's, I think, where marijuana can hold you back the most, is it makes you feel comfortable with where you are, even if you shouldn't be feeling comfortable, right? Because that uncomfortability, that pain that you feel, that like, oh shit, I'm not in a good part in life, that is a message from your mind, from your body, saying, hey, it's time to make some changes. It's like if you put your hand on a hot stove and you burned yourself and you pull your hand off because it's hot. If you're too sedated, if you're too drunk, if you're too high, you're going to leave your hand there and keep burning yourself. And that's really what I was doing, right? Because I was just so high. I was just like, didn't think, like I just essentially distracted myself from that pain, when it should have been like a hot fire underneath my ass, getting me up and moving, right? It needs to, and a lot of us, like our society is so averted to pain nowadays. Like oh, take an Advil, take this, take that, take this painkiller, right? But then the day that pain is there for a reason. It's telling you there's something wrong. It's telling you that, hey, it's time to make some changes. And at the end of the day, we need to listen into this pain. We need to listen to that uncomfortability and realize why it's there, realize what the message is, and then use it as our motivation to not feel like that anymore. And we need to address the root cause of it, which is oftentimes that we're feeling uncomfortable with where we are in life. We're feeling embarrassed. We're feeling like we're a failure. We're feeling like we're not good enough, which in the reality of the situation is, if you start to just change your thoughts about it, to start focusing on yourself and taking, you know, putting good foods into your body, meditating, getting, you know, going inwards and looking inwards and talking to yourself, like you know, like you talk to like one of your friends, like a loved one, then things would change. Things would change a lot more drastically and a lot quicker than a lot of people think. But it's really important that you do take that time to feel that pain. I think like JP Sears says, let the pain train run over you, let it back up and roll over you again. so you can really experience why it is you don't want to be in this spot anymore, and so you can get the hell out of there.
Quite often you're drawn back to your childhood too. It's
Yep.
like self-worth and self-belief. I know for
Mhm.
me, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was worthy of anything really. And that's why I would sabotage good things in my life.
Yep.
Because there was a child there that had the instant program from this story that I told myself that I wasn't worthy and that I wasn't enough. And as soon as I flipped my script and rewrote my new one, it's like, well, I am worthy. Like, I never once thought that 4 years ago I'll be sitting here talking to you from America on a podcast that I've created. Like, I never
Yep.
thought that it could be a possibility. But all I did was I flipped my script. I just changed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't need those old programs anymore. They've served their purpose in my life. They served their purpose for 27 years. I thank them for the lessons and all they told me and taught me and showed me. But I just flipped my script and rewrote a new one. That of health, love, abundance, wealth, freedom, prosperity, harmony, joy, friendships. All these things have come into my life since I flipped that script. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it was painful. But I went through that process and I sat with that child that was told that you're not enough, that you should suppress your tears and not cry. I went back to that child and I stood before it as a cleaner, healthier version of myself. And I said, Nath, it's okay to cry, buddy. I stand before you a stronger, cleaner, healthier version of you. I am you. You are me. We are one. We are together. And it's time that we rewrite our story. Fuck, I cried.
Powerful.
I was in the fetal position in my bedroom crying for 45 minutes with that child. And then my story's new. It's a brand new script. The hopes, the dreams, the visions of what I want for my future and my future self and my future family and my future wife. I'm striving to be that guy. I see him. I want to be that guy. That's just a version of me that already exists. I've merged with that guy. I've downloaded the blueprint, the template. I'm becoming that guy. We can all do this. We can all become that better version of ourselves. We've got to go back to our childhood and reparent that child. And that's what my porn was. That's what my self-worth was. That's what my self-confidence, that's what my public speaking, all this stuff was. Just that little child that didn't think that he was seen, heard, valued, loved, and appreciated. Well, I went back to him too and I said, I see you. I hear you. I acknowledge you. I respect you. But most importantly, I love you. Another boom, shed tears. It's powerful. Powerful, Tanner.
Yeah, it's super important to address your inner child. I know
they're just stories that you've instantly put there from either from parents, school. It's just a story and a program that you've put there subconsciously. And you can go back to that moment and go, well, I'm going to insert a new one. But it's going to be painful when you take that old program out because that's going to bring up so much emotional stuff, the tears and that. It's powerful, Tanner.
Yeah, I agree. I've done that work too. And there was a couple of different instances where I got bullied when I was in elementary school, when I was in middle school. And that definitely had an effect on how I saw myself, right? I didn't think of myself as someone who was good enough. That's why I have this I am enough written behind me, because it was a very powerful message for me and still is to this day. Every day I look in front of that and I say, I'm enough. Every day I look in the mirror and I tell myself I am enough. Right. And that I think is really important to do, to get.
And who are you telling that to though? I know you're telling it to yourself. Sorry to cut you off, but who are you actually telling that to that needs that constant reminder that you're enough?
Well, my inner child, but I kind of merged those two together. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and so being that person, like we all know how good it is when someone else tells you something good about yourself. It feels really good also when you tell yourself good things. It may feel weird at first. I know it felt kind of uncomfortable for me. Like I know the first time when I told myself, I love you, Tanner, I was like, oh, well, like that felt kind of like, and like I think it was in a session with Jason, and I was like, that felt kind of weird. And I got all emotional afterwards. And it is a very powerful thing to do. And not many people, people think, oh, that's just like, why would you tell yourself that? Why wouldn't you tell yourself that?
People think
Why?
people think it's arrogant and selfish and pig-headed,
Yeah.
and I don't know what it's like over in the States, but people think it's a selfish, pig-headed,
Yep.
arrogant thing to say that you love yourself. Come across as arrogance. This is not arrogance.
Yeah. It's self-love. Like, how do you, giving yourself that proper vision, that's how you get confidence. That's how you start to love yourself. That's how you start to get away from like putting just crap foods into your body and just sedating yourself day in and day out. Is you have to start to care for yourself, right? There's a reason why you're so willing to just pollute your body and treat it like a garbage compactor. It's because, well, at the end of the day, you don't love yourself, right? And that may be hard for some people to admit. um, and some people, might be like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, but you do need to love yourself. And I think that's a very important part, is to give yourself that love, no matter if you didn't get when you were a kid, no matter if no one else is telling it to you. Be that person, be your own cheerleader, be your own best friend, be your own parent if you need to, right?
Yes, reparent that child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
And or reach out to one of us and we'll become your head cheerleader to help you start the process to then be your own cheerleader.
yep.
We've lived
reaching
that
out.
life. We've come out the other side. Like, reach out and ask for help. Like, I know I couldn't have been. I couldn't be where I am now if I didn't ask for help. I'm just going to be honest with it.
Yeah, I would still be stuck. I'd still be smoking marijuana every day.
Yeah, I'll be watching porn, jacking it off
Mhm.
every day, depleting
Yep.
myself, all my life force energy, drinking alcohol, acting like a dickhead, sleeping around. Like, that lifestyle, I'm gonna be brutally honest here. That lifestyle was gonna kill me. It really was.
Yep. Yeah,
Either,
I mean,
either it would be a substance or whether it would have been whatever. That lifestyle was eventually going to take me.
yeah, same here. I mean, it would have led me down. I mean, it did lead me down a path of depression. It did lead me down a path of starting to gain weight, of starting to get all the pains, right? Where people are like, "Oh, I'm just growing old. I'm getting that pain."
No,
I was starting to get the same things, but at the end of the day, and I want to actually delete that out of my own mind because I don't even like to say that.
yeah,
But it's a common phrase that people say, right?
yeah.
I know, I hear it all the time. I heard a 19-year-old say it the other day.
Oh
Like,
no,
oh, my knees hurt. I'm getting old. It's like, no, you're not. You're 19 years old.
Your knees are hurt.
Exactly. So
if people understood their body, the
Mhm.
knees carry they carry your weight. So they carry the weight of the world. They carry like your shoulders. It's like, well, where in your life are you feeling that pressure?
Yep.
It's like understanding the body. Like, each ailment and each pain is an emotion or something, a situation in your life attached to it. Your shoulders, you're carrying the burden, you're carrying the weight of the world of them. So you have a sore shoulder. What are you carrying around that you need to let go of in your life so you can just relax into your shoulders and relax into yourself? Each ailment and each physical ailment. There's a good book called the Love Language of Your Body by Inna Segal. I encourage anyone and everyone to read that book because it puts an illness, an ailment, or a physical pain that is an emotion attached to it. There's always a meaning. It's like if you have a sore left foot, it's like, well, are you not stepping forward in your life? What's holding you back? Is that why your foot's sore? You know, it's understanding the human body on that real deep level.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think your point is spot on, right? You need to address those things that you're holding on to. And I think that's also where like a lot of times, like, that's the root cause of the addiction.
Oh yeah.
Right. Is it's not that, oh, I'm addicted to the alcohol just because, or just the marijuana just because. You're addicted to that thing because you're using it to cover up the real problem.
Yes.
Right? The alcohol, the marijuana, the porn, whatever it is, that's the solution to your current problem. That's your solution of what you're using as your solution.
Just ask
the problem
yourself.
Is it doesn't actually address it, right? It still leaves it lingering there. Like you when you drink to kill the pain, you still wake up the next morning with the pain because you never dealt with the actual reason why you have the pain.
Pain's probably a bit worse.
Exact thing. Yeah, exactly. Now you have more pain.
Yeah,
exactly, because it doesn't go away. It just builds and builds, and these things keep you stagnant because they just cover them up. They're like little band-aids you put over like a gaping wound. Of course, it's not going to help. It's just going to maybe hold it together temporarily, right?
Now, I don't want to bag the mainstream system, but sometimes I don't want to bag them. But it's like if you have these depressive thoughts and these feelings, you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get help, and you're not gonna be able to release these emotions if you're taking antidepressants.
Mm.
There's a good website we'll put in the show notes called cccSR.org. And there's about 8 documentaries there that prove how toxic this thing is. So you might be thinking that you're doing the right thing by going to see your therapist or your counselor and you're getting your stuff off. But if they're prescribing you this absolute toxic garbage, you're not getting those emotions out. If you go and see a counselor, just think about this. Are they sitting directly opposite you and are they telling you their life story? Are they telling you their stuff? Are they telling you what they're scared of? Are they telling you what they're running from? Are they telling you why they're watching porn and drinking and smoking, doing these things? No, they're just sitting there listening to you. And then they prescribe you with antidepressants. You come and see us, we tell you our stuff and you can learn from our experiences so you don't make the same mistake we did. That's all we're doing, Tanner. And we're also helping you rewrite that story, hence the $1 million piece of paper.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's some benefit definitely to like telling your story and to getting that information out. But that can only do so much, right? You have to do the inner work. And there's no amount of antidepressants or prescribed medicines that's going to cover that up. And from my experience, I'm thankful I never took any of that. I never, had the feeling. I always felt weird about going to the doctor for that kind of thing. And so I stuck away from it. But I know a lot of people who have gone into it and it made their problems worse, right? It made it so they had the life, like they felt like they had no like will to live anymore. Like they were just felt lifeless. And that is a really big problem with our society is just, you're depressed, here's some medication. Oh, you're this, here's a pill, right? At the end of the day, these things are not going to cover up. It's just like the marijuana, it's just like the alcohol. It's just a temporary cover up that doesn't actually address the root cause of the problem. And so it leaves you still with that problem. And it's just going to get worse and worse until there's a point where maybe you snap, maybe you commit suicide, maybe you don't find the will to live anymore. And it's really important that you don't let yourself get to that point. And I think a big part of it was asking for help, like we talked about earlier. I know for me, that was one of the major changes in my life, and still is to this day. I've asked for help multiple times. Every time I have, my life has drastically changed and it is still changing. I'm currently working with, a coach myself right now. And I think that's really important, right? To be constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly investing into yourself. And what is investing into yourself? What's the form of self-love, right?
Yeah.
It's a form of self-love at the end of the day.
It is. And the best thing I did was that not only did I ask for help, but I was listening to podcasts. Like when this whole stuff for the last 3 years happened, I wasn't seeing my friends because of the bullshit rules, and I wasn't seeing anything else. So I was getting myself fit. Like I was exercising as part of my self-sabotage. I was exercising too much, but I was already starting to make some changes. I was already on that path to self-help. I found Jason's podcast just through a mutual friend of ours, mutual friend of mine, Adrian, who was a friend of mine, and he interviewed Jason. And once I heard Jason's podcast, it's like, well, I want to go listen to this guy. This guy has completely overhauled his life. He was a coke addict. He was this, he was that, he was yada, yada, yada. Listen to his story. I'm like, oh my God. And then when I heard about the work he does with self-sabotage, I'm like, well, I tick that box, that box, that box, that box, that box, and that box. I tick all of them. And I went, all right. Then I reached out to him a couple of times, got some free advice on some different things. He's really good like that too. And so are we. If you want to reach out to us, we give you free advice, have a chat just like this for 20 minutes, half an hour. Then it was like, all right, he's opened up his coaching school. And it's like, okay, let's really delve into this now. It's like, well, I've got the surface level stuff of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Let's go deeper and let's rewrite this story. And it takes a good 12 months, doesn't it, Tanner? I know for me, I saw Jason in June last year, and I only just only quit porn in the last 3 months. So it does take a while for this reprogramming stuff to actually take effect, because it's a battle of repetition. You've had so much negative programming on this piece of paper that's your subconscious mind through parents, school, media, different things. It's going to take a while to out rep that negativity. But if you put positivity around you, you watch, if you want to watch, you watch documentaries that empower you and that educate you, that's all sweet. Or you can just cut TV out altogether. You listen to podcasts, you start reading books, you start maybe listening and watching our stuff, and you're surrounding yourself with better content. You start meeting friends and different people that are striving to be just like you. Then yeah, you are going to start out repping those negative programs, especially if you have affirmations around as well. You're talking to yourself, you're looking yourself in the mirror. This isn't like a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day fix. This is a 12-month, 2-year journey, because you're reprogramming yourself from all this negative programming, from the self-belief to the self-confidence to the self-worth. It's going to take time, but like anything, it's like going to the gym. Yeah, I started bloody skinny. I've put on a little bit of muscle in the last 3 months. It's the same thing. It's a battle of repetition. You're going to get there eventually. It's just patience, resilience, and discipline. People out there in society, they start doing this work for a couple of weeks and they don't see instant results. They just go back and say, "Oh, well, it was just bad luck." I just didn't get the results. It's like, well, no, you didn't persist with it. You're not putting in the resilience and the discipline and the hard work that it takes to actually get there. Like, are you working on your mind as well? Like your subconscious? It's like, do you have negative reprogramming there that if you were to go away and start doing this work, it's like, well, are you worthy enough? Mm-hmm. Does that child that's 4 years old, does he or she believe that he's worthy enough? Then if the answer is no, then sorry, you're going to be stagnant and stuck, because you don't believe that you're worthy of change because of the program you've had since you were a child. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with me. I didn't think that I was worthy of putting on muscle and going to the gym, because 16-year-old me, I had the wrong intentions, Tanner. I tried to chase women and I was doing it for sexual reasons because I was still a virgin then. I wanted to, get some. I wasn't putting on any muscle because I wasn't drinking then, but I was drinking horrible water, taking toxic whey protein, and treating my body like a garbage compactor, as you just said before. It's like, well, how am I going to put muscle on if I'm treating myself this way? Fast forward 10 years, Tanner. Fast forward 12 years. There's a little bit of muscle here now. I'm seeing some difference because I'm treating myself better. I'm getting the sleep, drinking proper water, drinking coconut water, having organic protein. If I need it, I can get it from food. Like, you can make these changes, and you can start to nourish the body that you've been given. And yeah, you can change it. And yeah, you can put on muscle. But got to go back and be like, well, are you worthy of that? And if the answer is no, and there's a bit of an uncomfortable feeling there, it's like, well, where does that come from? Why is that there? And you can face it.
Yep. Yeah, that's super important, is facing that feeling. And I really love what you said about like cutting out the negative things and bringing back in the positive things. Because really, I mean, it does take some time. It's not about perfection, it's about progression.
Yep.
And just like Nathan was talking about, how you have to put in the reps and make it so it's more familiar. I like to think about it as, nature always goes down the path of least resistance. So you can think of like a river going down a path. It's going to keep going down that path unless you make resistance. So the water has to go to a new area.
Yep.
Right. And really what this path is just one brain neuron to another brain neuron. It's creating a neural pathway. And every time you have those thoughts, every time you do those actions, it reinforces that, making it so it's an easier path for your brain to go down. So you're like, oh, I'm gonna go eat some food. You have that brain neuron path of, I like to eat junk food, I like to eat fast food, and that you'll go down that path because it's an easier path than another path. So you need to make sure that you are creating this new path. It's a lot like breaking a habit. That's really the same thing. These programs that we're talking about are habits, essentially, right? They are habits on this piece of paper. Your mind is like a supercomputer, like Nathan has talked about. It's pulling in information, 11 million pieces of information per second. And all it's doing is just trying to determine what's the safest thing for me to do? What's the best way for me to act within my tribe, within my society? and it doesn't reject information. It doesn't say, oh, this will make me fat. This will make me unhappy. It just says, yeah, bring it all in. Let's see what the safest thing for me to do. Because it's learned that fitting in with the group, fitting in with the crowd is going to be the safest option. That's why peer pressure is a thing. That's why when you hang out with a friend and they're constantly saying some kind of movie quote or constantly singing a song, you start to have that song, that movie quote stuck in your head. You find yourself saying that same saying because your mind wants to fit in with the people around
It's
you.
this invisible force, isn't it? It's an
Yeah.
invisible force. We can't see it. It's what Jason calls it, the fifth element. We can't see it, but it's that invisible force, isn't it, Tanner?
Yeah.
And when you say the path, I was going to ask you a question here. When you say the path of least resistance, I see it as we're the resistance. It's our resistance because it's our story.
Yeah.
So is the path of least resistance, is that our resistance? How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, we've created that resistance, right?
We have, yeah.
And that's, I mean, this part of the mind, the subconscious is part of us, right? So we've created that within our own minds. And that's why it's really powerful information once you start to learn about it, because you can break that. You could be the one who was putting up new resistance and saying, well, this path doesn't work for me anymore. I'm going to create some resistance here and I'm going to open up a new path. And then the river's going to divert into a new path and so start going down because either way, the water is always going to be flowing, right?
And we're 90% water.
Yeah, exactly. You can't stop nature. It's going to keep going. And at the end of the day, you got to choose, you got to be the one intentionally choosing where it's going to go. Yeah. Because if not, you're just living your life as like a NPC, a non-player character. You're just being controlled by society around you. You are just going through the day by days. And that's oftentimes why people feel like they're self-sabotaging, why they have these goals of eating healthier, going to work out, never dating someone like that again. And then they find themselves picking out on the ice cream. They find themselves buying a gym membership and never going. They find themselves, with that same exact partner who's treating them like shit. Again, because this part of the mind is going down that same path. And at the end of the day, it's not fully your fault because, well, you're not taught this information. And I think you're not taught this information for a reason, but we'll go down that path because that's a whole other.
I'm about to jump back in and show some kids this information, Tanner.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why what we do in learning about the subconscious mind and learning about self-sabotage and just getting more in touch with yourself is so powerful because it allows you to be it allows you to go from just a victim of saying, I don't have any control over this. There's so many people with depression who think they have no control over their thoughts, who think that they're just like victims of their mentalities, of their thoughts, of just the world around them. But at the real end of the day, you're not a victim unless you allow yourself to be. And that can be a hard pill for some people to swallow because that means that you are the one who's fucking up your own life. And you need to realize that, yeah, you do have the power to make these changes. I know for me, that was a hard thing for me to swallow. It's like, shit, I got myself into this spot.
Yeah, same.
I'm the only one who can get myself out. You can always reach out for other people for help, but you do need to make those changes. You do need to do that hard work. And really, at the end of the day, people are like, oh, it's so much harder to do this. Well, it's hard either way, right? You pretty much should choose your hard. You either want to face those challenges up front, or you're going to deal with the repercussions of not facing them on. And you're gonna feel that depression. You're gonna feel that obesity. You're gonna feel that getting sick all the time and being hungover and feeling like shit and living paycheck to paycheck, working that 9-to-5 job. Or you can start to move towards the life that you want and put in the work now. Put in the stuff that makes you feel uncomfortable now. Get out of your comfort zone and start living in a place of growth instead.
Exactly. And if you want to write that book and sing that song, then do that. If you want to start the podcast and start that business, then do that. The time is now.
Yep.
I talk about it too. You don't want to be laying on your deathbed, looking at your relatives and your friends in the eye and saying, oh, I could have, should have, would have, and didn't. That's the fear that we're all fearing. We're all fearing being in that situation. You can rewrite that story and not be in that situation. When you're in that situation, you can say, well, I lived the best life ever. I did this, I did that, I achieved this, I did everything I wanted to do. I'm guiding you into the next life. Show's over. See you later. We can rewrite that whole story ourselves because it's our story. But we're all fearing being in that situation of the regret. We're fearing the regret. But we can take one step towards that now by changing. Whether it's the porn, whether it's the alcohol, whether it's the negative thinking. Just look yourself in the mirror and say, thank you. Thank you that you got this far. You're not broken. You're not weak. You got this far. The human body's done a bloody good job to get you to this point.
Yeah.
Now you can change.
Mm-hmm.
Ask for help. Yes, if you want to quit porn, set the intention to quit porn, but expect to go back because of that resistance. That resistance is your resistance. If you set the intention to not watch porn again, and I guarantee you that you'll end up going back to whatever that vice is that you struggle with. For me, it was porn. I kept going back. I kept going back because it was safe and it was comfortable. That was my story. Porn was safe and comfortable. Yeah, it took me 12 months to change that story, but I changed the story because I had the intention and I had the resilience and the patience to be able to go, hang on a minute. There's a version out there that exists of me in the future that's not watching porn. I want to be that guy. So I got there eventually. I weaned off it. It was every night to 3 nights to 2 nights to 1 night to then, you know what? What would my future, as soon as I heard that, what would my future self say? Gone. And then I heard that other piece of advice, what my future wife and kids say for those that are single. Mate, every time I feel drawn to pick up that phone and just go on Pornhub, it's like, well, what would my future wife say? She'd be like, Nathan, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You can come and do this with me. You don't need a screen and someone to be in love with on a screen. Got a human version right here. What would my kids say? Because our kids watch everything that we do, Tanner, don't they? They have a subconscious mind too. And if I keep watching porn and they keep seeing their father watching porn, it's like, well, they're going to have the exact same program I've had. They're going to seek safety and comforting porn too. It's like, no, I want to be better than that. I am better than that. So no, I'm not watching porn.
Yeah,
and that's your motivation. You're living that right now, Tanner. So you can actually be like, well, you know what? If you're going to pick up that weed, it's like your kid knows. And it's like, well, you're not going to do that, are you, mate? Because you've already got the family. It's like, well, you probably ask yourself, what would my wife and my kid think right here, right now, if I was to do this? You probably ask yourself that all the time.
If they smelled it on me, if they, they saw that I was just stoned out of my mind. Yeah, I do think about that often, and it is really powerful.
It is,
and I know a lot of people do have kids and they still partake. And I want you to know, if that is you, it's not too late.
No.
Right? It's never too late. You haven't done permanent damage, but I do highly recommend you make those changes now. Doesn't
matter how old you are, Tanner.
Yeah, I'm 30 years old, so
that doesn't matter how old. If someone's watching this and in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, it doesn't matter how old you are to change.
Yep, I agree. It doesn't matter how old you are, and even if your kids have seen you doing these things, showing them that you're able to overcome these things, that you're able to break free from these things, that is powerful.
That is, because you're helping them rewrite their story.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're simply showing them that, hey, we can overcome hard things. We can break through these things that hold us back. We don't have to be stuck. We can create something better for ourselves. And that's actually a really powerful place to be, and sharing your story with other people, right? So yeah, I think that's spot on. And actually, I do want to say one last thing, because you've talked about it a couple of times.
Go for it.
And I know it's something that's helped me a lot, is having that vision of the future.
Yes.
Knowing what you're working towards, because it's so easy to just be like, oh, I just want to get high now and enjoy my now, right? A lot of self-sabotage is just with short-term thinking. We're looking for that instant gratification, that dopamine fix. And to get free from that, you have to start to think long-term. Think about, what are you working towards? How are you going to get there, right? What is your 10-year goal? What is your 5-year goal? What is your 1-year goal? What is your couple months goal?
Yeah.
What's your progression? How are you going to progress to get there? And things might change. That's not set in stone thing, but knowing where you're needing to go allows you to be like, hey, is smoking marijuana, is jacking off to porn, is, playing video games all night? Is just drinking a bunch of alcohol and going out and partying and having promiscuous sex, is that going to get me to where I want in life? Is that going to lead me to that vision that I want for my life? Or is that going to give me more of the same? Is that going to give me more living paycheck to paycheck? Is that going to give me more pain? Is that going to give me more depression? Is that going to keep me stuck in the life that I don't want to be living, the life that I feel embarrassed by, right? And that is where I think a lot of you can overcome a lot of this self-sabotage, is start to think long term.
Yep.
And ask yourself, consciously think about it. Is that going to lead me towards where I want to go or farther away from it?
Love that inner dialogue too. And for anyone out there, you can start a vision board or start thinking about these goals that you'd like to achieve. It's like, well, if your 6-month plan is to quit porn, write that down and do that, because that version of you already exists. If your 10-year plan is to create an empire, then make that your 10-year plan and then stick to it. And it's like, well, if you want that empire, well, then are you going to drink the alcohol and smoke the vape? And we can talk about the vape as well, Tanner. That just came in then too. Like the vape's another one. Or anything, that's leading to you towards the gutter. It's like, well, if you want to be led towards the gutter, then you're going to do that. It's like if you have the 10-year plan, the 5-year plan, the 3-year plan, or even the 6-month plan, it's like, well, I want to be there. Excuse me. I want to be there. I don't want to be down the gutter of misery, is what I call it.
Yep.
And vision boards aren't very hard to make. Just put a goal in there, or 5 or 6 goals, and then go the steps you would take to achieve it, but also put in there what it feels like to achieve that goal. So if your goal is to quit porn, what does it feel like to quit porn? Do you feel free? Do you feel clear? Do you feel happy? Do you feel mentally clearer? Do you feel strong? Do you feel like you can achieve anything? Like how does it feel to be in that moment? This helped me too. Putting myself in that moment of what is it like to actually quit this thing? Yep. And then when I did go back, it was like, well, this is how it's affecting me, because I was a different person when I wasn't watching it. I was strong. I was mentally clear. I didn't see women as sexual objects. I'd go back. I'd be like, what am I going sexual with that woman for? Whoa. What is it? It was that repetitive. I'll put it away. It was that repetitive sexual stuff again. It was like, hang on a minute. So then you start getting the experience of both sides. It's like, well, I know who I am when I don't watch it. I don't like who I am when I am watching it. It's the same with alcohol. I did the same thing with alcohol. I went, well, I quit alcohol during the whole COVID stuff, but when we got out of lockdown and stuff, I would get back onto it, and I'd see the difference. I'd go, I'm a complete different person. I'd be horny and on my phone trying to find a route, doing all these things. I'm like, whoa. This is not who I am when I don't drink. Took me a little bit to work out with porn too, because I was like, well, I'm a different person when I'm not watching it. I'm not seeing women as sexual objects. I can have conversations with women and not talk about sex. As soon as I watch that porn, day later, I'm talking about sex. I'm seeing women as sexual objects. I'm picturing them naked. I'm like, whoa. This is not okay. I want to be that guy that doesn't watch it full time.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's that too, Tanner. It's like, yeah, don't beat up on yourself for going back. You're just learning what you're like when you're in the moment, what sort of person you are and how it affects you, to then go, okay, well, this is how it affects me. I'd rather be that person that's not doing that, because I'm a better person when I'm not doing that. It could be anything. Oh, yeah. You could feel so much better when you aren't smoking and not gambling and doing all these other things. You can feel totally so much better when you're doing it. But then you'll get the conscious awareness and go, well, I'm a completely different person when I do this. You might be, hey, here's another example. You might be drinking all the time, right? And then you might be weaning off it, and then you'll go, gee, I get angry. Well, I get angry when I drink. I'm not angry when I don't drink. You might have the conscious awareness to go, well, I don't want to be angry all the time, so I'm not going to drink, so I don't want to be that person. I didn't like who I was when I was drunk either. And that was sort of helped me off alcohol, as I just said before. So it's like, yeah, you can quit these things, but go back and see who you actually are when you are and when you're on them. And when you are on them, I can guarantee you that you're not going to like the person that you are, because I know I didn't. Mm-hmm. How was it for you? Same experience?
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And I think I agree, because like there's been multiple times when I've gone back to marijuana, when I've gone back to eating someone, like I've gone back to eating like a fast food or something. Sometimes I'll
Yeah, so
just
how
do it
would your
just
body feel inside eating that fast food, knowing that?
yeah, the other day actually I had I mean, I didn't have to, but we were out with like family and we just ate someplace I wouldn't normally choose.
Yep.
And I was like, whatever, I'll just eat this and see how I feel. And instantly I started to feel just gross in the stomach, kind of bloated. And so you start to realize these things. Like I used to just eat that stuff all the time and I didn't notice it. Once you cut it
Yeah.
out of your life and you go back to it, that's a good thing to try, right?
Yep.
Oh, think about this. Like if you are a coffee drinker, if you are an alcohol, if you're, smoke marijuana, if you drink
It's all of them.
alcohol,
Yeah.
cut it out for just a month and try going back to it, see how you feel.
Yep.
Right. You'll notice much differently that, hey, there's a big difference when I'm doing these things when I'm not. And then it helps you realize, gives you a reason not to want to go back.
Especially with the
There's been
porn.
times when I've gone back to marijuana and I've been like, it keeps me stagnant. That's one of the biggest things I've realized when I go back to smoking marijuana. It just keeps me stagnant. It lets me feel like I'll have all this progress going. I'll start becoming really successful and I'll go start smoking again. And I'll be like, just go right back in my old habits. I start gaming all the time, don't want to do anything. I stop working out. And it just completely kills my drive and lets me just be stagnant with where I am. And that was one of the biggest problems with marijuana for me.
And porn for me, it's like, well, I'd get that instant dopamine hit, all my happy chemicals and my sexual energy is just like, it was like an instant. It's like you can calm your body down and channel that energy and that drive to something else. And I've learnt that too. Like I've gone back to, actually, when I would go back to porn just to see how I was, it's like, well, it would ignite all these, like the dopamine would just be just so heightened, my energy be heightened, be like an instant, like an ego thing straight into the, like, I've just got to rub this out. It's like, like my energy and it's like this excitement that you can't really describe it, Tanner. I don't know what you would like on it, but it was like this real heightened excitement, this enthralling, thrilling thing. It's like you can channel that energy and bring it down and really relax your central nervous system and just channel that energy into something else, because that energy is powerful. That energy that they're trying to suck out of us through the porn, that's powerful energy. And if we can use that energy into our business, our podcast, into our life, that's a lot of potent energy. And if that's going in the direction of your best life and your best self, you're gonna get there. Because that energy, when I can just feel it as soon as I see something sexual on TV or on the porn. It's like, oof, that energy. It's like, okay, let's channel this into something else, because that energy is potent. That's our energy, and we're depleting ourselves of that when we rub one out over it. Let's channel
just
energy through our system and get it going, Tanner. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think about how powerful it is every time I see my son, right?
Yes,
That
there you go.
that I shot out of me, it created a human along with my wife. But like that's some powerful energy, right?
Absolutely.
To create, every time we're doing that, we're just getting rid of energy that literally creates life, and we're just getting rid of it.
Harness it.
Yeah, harness it to build your life, to repurpose it into something better. And I think it makes me think of Nakula and just how much she talks about, how like all like the top people in the world. I think he's like a lot of like the top rappers and like a lot of like really
practice semen
people,
retention.
Yeah, have retained their semen and become very successful people,
In the show notes, we'll put our podcast that we've done with Nakula in the show notes so people can go and watch, because the one he did with him was just as powerful as the one he did with me too. So we'll put both of the links in there. People can go back and listen to that, because this semen retention stuff is more information that's been hidden from you. Tanner and I have been practicing it. I have been for a few months now, and my God, it's powerful. Tanner and I, we might even delve into our semen retention journeys down the road, I reckon.
What do you reckon? Yeah, we do podcasts about it.
For me, it's given me this whole new level of confidence, mate. Like I've been, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see that I've been doing reels and I've really honed in on my niche. Like I've really discovered, I guess myself through this this process. It's quite powerful. Looking forward to sharing my journey with you, Tanner, hopefully down the road, if that sounds like something we could do.
Yeah, we can definitely jump
Powerful
on.
information, this seam retention stuff, because it's more information being hidden from you.
Definitely. Yeah, it's super powerful for, for all the men out there, and even for the woman out there to know just, like how powerful it is for your husband or your partner or your
to
future
be in their masculine, taking the lead, showing initiative. They make the decisions. It's all powerful stuff. So, Tanner, that's been an awesome podcast, man.
Yeah, it has. It's been great.
A final message for someone that's listening, Tanner. I'll give mine after you. So if there's a final message for someone that's listening and watching, they probably avoided ever. I guess they've avoided ever telling themselves that they have a problem. They've always used excuses that they don't have one, that everyone's doing it and maybe just 5 minutes is okay, or they're saying porn, OnlyFans isn't porn, even though OnlyFans is porn. They're using all these different excuses to cover up that there actually might be a problem here. So if there's someone listening to this that just had a little moment where they've gone, oh, maybe I have a problem with porn or marijuana or whatever it is, whatever vice it is, Tanner, what would be your advice to someone that's just listening to this now? We're getting to the close and they go, oh, shit. What would be your advice to someone just having their oh shit moment right now?
Yeah, I mean, I want you to, and anyone who's out there in that problem or that period where they're like, shit, I am addicted, or I am, causing some serious damage to my life, just to know that it's not too late, that there is a way forward, that you're not a broken individual. Like if especially like I know myself, I tried quitting a couple of times even before I knew this information, and I kept sabotaging my progress. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're working exactly how you're designed, and that there is a way forward. Both me and Nathan are examples of that. You're not stuck in that addiction. And I know like a lot of our society is like, oh, once you're addicted for life or whatever, and I think that's bullshit. And that's because people aren't addressing the root cause of the problem. I want you to know that the porn, the alcohol, the weed, that's not the main problem. That is what you're using as your temporary solution to the problem.
Yes.
There's a deeper problem, and you need to look within. And to look within, you need to kind of distance yourself from these things and do that inner work. Start to think about, why are you using it? What is it providing you? If the marijuana, if the porn was like providing you something like a superpower or something, what would it be doing for you? Would it be making you feel better about your life? Would it be making you feel just good when you otherwise you just feel like shit throughout your whole life? Like what is it doing within your life, what problem is it solving for you? And there's your answer as to what's going on in your life. So
well said.
That's my advice.
My advice would be to just look yourself in the mirror and just say to yourself, I'm very proud of the person that I am to get this far. And then just envision that person that exists that's already quit that, become one with that version, seek out help from Tanner and myself, or someone that has lived and been there where you have, so they can share their experiences so that you don't learn from their mistakes. You might be a heavy gambler or something Tanner and I haven't done. I dabbled in gambling and dabbled in smoking, but if you're listening to this and you can still learn from our mistakes, because all vices, it's all the same result. But if you're sitting there and you're a heavy drinker or a heavy porn watcher or marijuana smoker, it's like, well, reach out to us and we'll share our experiences with you, and we'll hold space for you, and we'll be like, well, when I quit this or when I did that, you don't have to learn. You can learn from our mistakes so that you don't have to live them yourself.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of the work we do, is we hold space for you, yes, but we also share our story and our experiences to help you so you don't make the same mistakes we did. And that's the most beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. Because if you go and see a psych, they're not going to tell you their stuff unless they're holistic. They're not going to tell you that they were watching porn for as long as you were, and that they drink on weekends and they sleep around, all that stuff. No, they're just going to hold space for you, give you a little antidepressant, little prescription. See you later. It's like we're worth more than that. We're better than that. Then seek out help from someone that's lived a similar story to you, so that they can help change yours. and flip that script. Because the work I do and the work you do, we're flipping scripts all bloody day, Tanner, and it's bloody awesome, isn't it? I love having someone jump on and talk to me because I know that I can flip their script because I flipped mine. And it worked. This works. This information is so powerful.
I completely agree. Spot
that's
on.
my
And
advice.
it is one of the most amazing things to see people's life change around. Like I just had someone on my podcast.
Oh yeah, put a link to that in the bottom too.
And his life has drastically changed from
you
know, learning this information and working with me. So you know, your life can change. It's just whether you're going to invest in yourself and put that time into yourself and start to love yourself.
Yes, that's a big one. Thanks for jumping on, Tanner. That was an awesome chat, mates. I hope everyone out there took a lot from this and can start implementing some of the things we've shared today in their lives. And if you're ever stuck, if you're ever struggling, please reach out and ask for help. Tanner's email and all his contact details will be in the bottom of this. And I know mine will be for Tanner's video and for his audio. There's really no excuses here to ask for help in this current time because I think a lot of people do need it. We're just scared of asking for it. And the time is now to ask for that help. Tanner's available. I'm available. DM us, comment, reach out, email, whatever way you would like. Please do it. Hit like, subscribe, and share. Hopefully this resonates with a lot of people out there and we can all overcome our self-sabotage and become the best versions of ourselves for us and for those around us and watch that ripple effect. Tanner, thank you for jumping on again. If there's anything else that we should add.
I think that's perfect. Thank you, Nathan. It's always great talking with you. And thanks everyone for listening.
This has been the Breaking Free from Self-Sabotage Solutions podcast collaboration. And we'll see you guys again real soon. Tanner and I are gonna make more of an effort to jump on because when we do, the energy is awesome. So we're gonna make more of an effort to jump on and do this more often than what we have been. So we'll see you guys real soon. Reach out, ask for help. And thank you for watching and listening wherever in the world you are. And we'll see you soon. Cheers.
See you soon. Bye.